Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Liz, and in today's video I'm going to show you guys how you can make thousands of dollars using your Cricut. Thank you so much to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and jump on into the video. So I purchased my very first Cricut in 2020, I want to say around March or April, and I purchased it solely just for my use. I was really into crafting. Obviously it was in the beginning of the pandemic and we were all stuck at home. There wasn't a whole lot to do. So I was really getting into crafting mode, and that's the reason why I purchased it. I saved up my money, waited till they had a really good deal on it, and I purchased the Cricut Explorer Air 2. Now, like I said, I purchased it just for me in the beginning, and once I started posting things that I was making, friends and family were coming to me asking me to make them custom decals as well, whether that was for signs that they were making or for decals they wanted to put on the wall. But I was able to make those for them and charge some money for the vinyl. Now, of course, in the beginning, I wasn't really sure how to price things, but once I started getting in the groove of it and doing some research off of Etsy or Facebook Marketplace to kind of figure out what the prices I should be putting my items at, I got into the groove of that and I was able to make some money that way. Now, as I started getting more comfortable with my Cricut, I started making myself signs, which again, I would post on Facebook, and friends and family would come to me asking me to make them signs as well. Once I started doing that and I had a good base around what kind of signs I could make, we made signs, we made decals, we made cup holders that were really cute as well. And I was able to post these on the Facebook Marketplace, and I was able to get a lot of orders. Orders just started streaming in, custom orders or orders of things that we already made, so that they were really easy to just duplicate and ship on out. You could also sell these at your local craft fairs. You don't have to do it just on Facebook Marketplace, but that is where I sold all of my items, and over the course of the summer we made thousands of dollars, which was a huge shock to me. But seeing how much I was able to make just with using my Cricut and making signs and making decals, it was a huge blessing. So I didn't look at the Cricut as much as, you know, something just for me to do that was a lot of money. I looked at it as an investment. I'm purchasing this thing, I've got it now, and I'm going to recoup the money that I've spent on it by making and selling items from my Cricut. So let's jump into some of the signs that I made for customers and some of the decals, and let me show you how you can make them yourself so that you can also turn your Cricut into a little profit for you.
So there are a couple different ways that you can make your designs for your signs or items that you're making. You can buy an SVG from Etsy or somewhere similar like designbundles.net and upload your images to Cricut Design Space, or you can create your own design in Cricut Design Space from scratch. For this specific sign, I'm going to design the decal myself, and in order to do this, I'm going to click on the shapes button and I'm going to click on the square. I'll size the square to the size of my sign so I can make sure that the words are going to be a perfect size for my sign. Now I'm going to click on the text button and I'm going to start writing out my words line by line. I'm not going to worry about the size or the placement until I have each of my lines written out. Once I've done that, I'm going to start sizing each of my sayings line by line and then making sure everything is centered in the middle. To do that, you're just going to highlight everything together, including that square, and click on the align button and click on center horizontally. Now, because my sign is a 24 by 24 inch sign, this decal isn't going to fit on one mat altogether. It's going to take two mats. So I need to cut this sign in half and cut them out onto my Cricut in two separate pieces. So I just highlight half of my sign going halfway down my words, click on the attach button, and then do the same thing to the second half. Click and highlight all over the second half of my sign and click attach. This is going to keep each section together where I had it so that I can piece each section together later. I'll click on the Make It button. Make sure your settings are to the correct material that you're using, if you're using vinyl or stencil vinyl. So I'm going to be using this as a stencil. I didn't have any stencil vinyl on hand, so I'm going to be using removable vinyl, which also works just as well as stencil vinyl. Since I'm going to be using the vinyl as a stencil, I'm going to reverse weed, which means I'm going to take out all the words that you would normally keep in. Wherever you want your paint to be, you want to remove that portion. Once your vinyl is ready to go, you can move on to the sign portion of your project. We use 1x2 strips of wood that we buy from any local hardware store such as Lowe's or Home Depot. This sign is going to be a 24 by 24 inch sign, so we're going to cut out a total of 4 sides for the frame. 2 will be at 24 inches and the other will be at 22.5 inches. This is the same measurement system that will apply to any size of sign that you're making. For example, if you're making a 10-inch sign, you'll cut 2 sides at 10 inches and then you'll cut the other 2 sides at 8.5 inches. Once all 4 sides are cut out, my husband will attach all 4 sides together using 1 nail per end. This is just going to loosely keep it together while we continue to work on it. He'll take the frame over to a larger piece of wood that he purchased from Home Depot. This is going to be the insert for our sign, and he's going to trace out the inside of the frame to get the exact size that he needs for the inside of the sign. He'll then use his table saw to cut it all out. Now, a trick that I quickly learned while making these signs is to paint the frame and the insert separately before putting them together. That way you aren't taping up each sign and wasting all that time and all that tape when this could have been done beforehand. So I'm going to give the insert of the sign one rough coat of chalk paint, which I prefer since it has more coverage than acrylic paint and it dries faster as well. This specific customer wanted the sign to be distressed, so I used some Waverly chalk paint and mineral and ink and distressed my sign by just adding little dashes of that paint throughout the sign. Once that was done, I started on the frame. You can use whatever kind of stain you want. I prefer water-based stain since I did this indoors, then it isn't stinking up my room. After both the frame and the insert are dry, we would take it back out to the garage and nail all the sides together. 2 nails on each end and 2 in the middle per side. Now once that's done, I'm able to work on stenciling the vinyl on my sign. So a trick to get the vinyl exactly where you want it without it sticking down first is to add a piece of wax paper with a little overhang on the bottom so the vinyl will have a little spot to stick down to on the sign. When you have it where you want it, you can just stick that portion down. I just used my measuring tape to figure out where I needed it to be and then stuck the overhang portion down, lifted up my decal, removed the wax paper, stuck the rest of my vinyl down, and then took my transfer tape off. Then I just repeated those steps with the second portion of my decal. Again, since this was a bigger sign, my decal had to be into 2 separate pieces. I just matched up the H and then stuck my vinyl down. A trick to avoid bleeding is to stencil first the entire decal in the same color paint that you used for the backing. It's just going to help with the bleeding and be less of a pain later when you remove that vinyl. Another thing that I've heard that other people do that I haven't tried is to use Mod Podge first before you go in with your stencil color. Apparently that helps with the bleeding as well. I just personally haven't tried it. And then I go in with my chalk paint in black and use a stencil brush. I'll just do up and down dabbing motions to apply my paint. You do not want to drag your brush back and forth. This is going to cause a ton of bleeding. Up and down, dabbing motions in light layers is a perfect stenciling for vinyl. I remove my vinyl before the paint has completely dried just by lifting the vinyl up and off. For all those little pieces on the inside of the letters like the Y's, the H's, the E's, I use my Cricut weeding tool to just get those out nice and easily. Then I just finish it off by taking it to my electric sander, distressed even more, and that was it. I love how high-end the sign looks. I can charge anywhere from $80 and up for this sign, especially since I took the time to do the stencil version, which takes a lot longer than if I would have just applied the vinyl to it. Stenciling always costs more than just putting the vinyl on your sign. Now, another really popular item that we sold a ton of were these cup holder boxes. So to make these, we followed the exact same step as making the sign, but we took 1x4s into 4 pieces, all the exact same size. I want to say that these were cut out to 6 inches per side, and then we would nail each side together, making a box, add the box onto a separate piece of wood, trace out the bottom just like we did with the frame and the sign, and then cut the bottom out and nail it together inside the framed box. And then you have your cut box. You'll also drill a hole in the side the size of a Sharpie marker so that your customer has a place to put their marker. This specific box that I'm showing you right here, I'd paint in my faux shiplap lines. This was my most popular design for my cup holders, kind of that farmhouse feel to it. If these boxes were just stained one color though, I would charge less than if I was painting them and adding the shiplap lines and distressing to it. We also made double sizes for these for 2 stacks of cups in one box. That was obviously more expensive too because that used more wood. For our boxes, we charged anywhere from $18 to $33 per box. Once I had my paint on the box, I gave it 2 coats of clear coat, waited for that to completely dry, and then I cut out my decal, weeded the vinyl, and centered it onto my box, and that's it. Another thing that you could do if you didn't want to take the time to finish your items for your customers is you could make craft kits, which I also had a lot of interest in as well. Instead of painting and applying your vinyl, you would just give them the unfinished sign or the unfinished box and the decal to go along with it. To make just the decal on its own, you would just cut and weed your vinyl like normal, apply your transfer tape, but leave the backing of the vinyl on. So you have the backing, and then the vinyl, and then the transfer tape, and then your customer can apply the decal to their project on their own. It's as simple as that. I hope that this gave you some good ideas on how you can start using your Cricut to make high-end looking signs and decor pieces to sell on the Facebook Marketplace or in your local craft fairs, or just online or to friends and family. This is just a really simple and easy way to make some extra cash using your Cricut.
And that's it. That is how I made money using my Cricut. I hope that you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer each of them for you. Again, go on to websites like the Facebook Marketplace or Etsy and find similar things that you are selling, that other people are selling, so that you know how to price them. That is my biggest tip and advice for you. I get a lot of questions on how I priced my signs and how I price my items. I did a lot of research. I found what people were selling them for, and I tried to kind of stay in the middle from what I was seeing. You need to take the price of your materials as well as your time into consideration when you are pricing your goods as well. Once again, I hope that you guys found this video helpful and that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.